have all sorts of little goodies there. It's really fun.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see a new
Nudes.
album. There we That's the only clip we're putting out.
You gotta deliver.
Yeah. Welcome to Building Friendships. I am your unqualified host, John Sosis, and I'm really excited for my guest today. She's one of my favorite people. She's a recording artist. She's an actress. She has a web series, Anya Marina, Indie-Pendent Woman, that we may have worked on together. And yeah, you'll see her on tour all year. She just got off a big tour. Miss Anya Marina.
Hi, John.
Hey, bud.
Do you prefer John or Jonathan? I know you say you don't care.
I prefer Jonathan, but
I know
I'm not.
you say you
I'm
prefer
not
Jonathan.
that guy. I'm not that guy who's
Okay.
like, it's Jonathan.
Okay, great. I'll just switch to
John.
Jonathan.
No, you can call me John. It's fine.
Okay, great.
Just
It is-
know that I prefer Jonathan because that's my name.
You prefer Jonathan.
Yeah, but when I'm at like I ordered coffee at Starbucks today, and they're like, "What's your name?" I was like, "John," and then they spell it with an H, and I'm like, "I'm not trash." Like,
Right.
there's
I'm
no
not a
H.
flippy
It's short
kid.
for Jonathan, but I'm not gonna be that guy.
Right.
How are
okay.
you, bud? I can't believe I
I'm
haven't
so
seen
good.
you since before the pandemic. Like
Is
I
it
saw
really?
I saw you because I moved out to LA in 2021. I saw you in the beginning of 2020, and then the pandemic happened.
Where did we see each other?
So
LA?
I think it was New York. We went
What a
to like a
lifetime
diner
ago.
over here. Yeah,
We went to a diner?
yeah.
This is how
Yeah,
it's going
It
for
was like
me.
11th Avenue or 10th Avenue. I forgot which.
Oh,
where it
Empire
was.
Diner.
Yeah, it might
That's
have
where
been.
I lived.
Yeah,
In Chelsea. Remember
Yeah.
we filmed in my apartment?
we did.
That borderline not politically correct scene about my Airbnb guests
It was really.
being of different ethnicities. But I was playing a character,
That's right.
an amplified
With your
version
name
of...
and career and
Yeah. You ruined me.
We're gonna build some Lego. I don't know if you're familiar with Lego. Have you built Lego?
I have a friend who says, I'm going to order a nacho. And she says that all the time, and it drives me crazy because it's clearly nachos.
Yeah.
And now
that's
you're
wrong.
doing, we're going to build a Lego. Isn't it?
Well-
we're going to build Legos?
No, Lego. The plural of Lego is Lego.
Has this already been discussed on this podcast?
Well, I told Bobby Moynihan we're gonna get canceled if he keeps calling it Legos
Okay,
because
so
he was in a Lego TV show. He should know better. But you get a pass because you don't do this.
this series of things here are
Lego bricks
what?
or Lego.
Oh my God, you're blowing my mind.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
fine.
We're going to the Lego store, not the Legos store.
Well, I would say we're going to the Lego store, but these are Legos.
No, they're Lego.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough hour, but you're gonna be building the tropical ukulele. That's
Oh my
this plus another
God.
bag on the floor is supposed to become this. Once you open up the book and start doing the instructions, like we can start turning to it now.
Okay.
Because I live
So
in
it's
New
like
York,
a puzzle.
it's exactly like a puzzle. It has instructions and everything.
Okay, great.
Because I live in New York, with all my the Lego that I have that I accumulated before I moved, it's all in storage. But I'm going to be building a little winter city. So we're going to get.
I'm doing a ukulele. You're building
I'm
a
building
winter city.
a winter city. So like right now we're going to be doing the tram, the trolley.
Oh, it's a New York inspired thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Well,
is it San
it's a
Francisco?
Hallmark Channel inspired thing, but
Before we begin,
okay.
let's get into what started you building Lego and being attracted to Lego.
Okay, I'm not attracted to Lego. Let's make it very clear. I'm not getting off to Lego.
What deeply drew your loins to Lego?
Here's what happened.
No, I mean your heart.
My heart and my loins. I had to have my large intestine removed. This was before I saw you. Yeah, you asked. And anyone who's watching this has heard it before. But this is when I knew the medical system was so fucked up. So I had my first surgery, 8 hours. They cut you open. They remove your large intestine. They send you home with painkillers because you're going to be in pain. I started hallucinating. Their solution to that was different painkillers. There was no thought of like, hey, keep your mind busy or take some Tylenol. It was like, here's some Tylenol with codeine. Here's some Dilaudid, so I started hallucinating on my couch and talking to people that weren't there.
What year is this?
2014. So this was right before we
What?
met because we shot in like 2016.
Yes.
This was right before we met.
You're blowing my mind because I really thought this was like...
You really
Oh.
thought I just liked this as like the Lego
Yeah.
porn. I was just
No,
jerking
no,
off
no,
to Lego.
no. I thought this was something from your childhood that you still.
I did have it as a child, but I stopped building it into adulthood. And then when I had my surgery, I was like, I need something to get my mind off this. And they had a cool Lego movie theater, the Palace Cinema. And I was like, oh, Lego's gotten way more advanced. So I bought it was like $150, and I became obsessed. Like the detail of everything.
So you're recovering from the surgery. You're hallucinating.
And I was like, I can't take the painkillers anymore.
And
I don't
then
want to
you
be
went to
another
the
statistic.
cinema.
I didn't go. Yeah, I bought Lego Cinema.
Wait, what? No.
I didn't go to the cinema.
what's
It's called
Palace?
Palace Cinema. It's a
What is
Lego
that?
set. It's
Okay,
a Lego movie
talk
theater.
to me like I'm 5.
Okay. So you know how this is a tree built out of Lego?
Yes.
I bought a movie theater that you build out of Lego.
But rewind. What caused you to buy that?
I needed to keep my mind busy because I didn't want the painkillers
But
anymore.
how did you even get Lego into your mind?
I think that's a good question. I think I literally just went
And
through
we'll bring the therapist.
Yeah. I literally think I just walked through Toys R Us looking for something to keep busy with.
What were you doing in Toys R Us?
Looking for a girlfriend. It was 2014, times were different.
Really?
No.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
I'm just.
Oh my God.
I'm staying open-minded.
Please don't. Stop it.
No, I mean we're almost there. I feel like we're following these breadcrumbs. So
There's
it's
no breadcrumbs.
when was the? So
I'm
you
building
were.
already.
Go ahead. You were in Toys R Us.
I was in Toys R Us. The first section at the Toys R Us by me was Lego. I was like, that's it.
When was the last time you were in Toys R Us, or was this a regular thing? Like it's Monday, I'm getting.
I mean,
lunch,
I was
I'm
into
going to this.
video games, so I guess I had been in there
Okay.
previously. But you know what it was? I had something. I don't know if you remember this. Puzz 3D. It was a literal puzzle that you could build 3D things out of, but they looked more like puzzle pieces instead of bricks. So I had the Monopoly one, and I think the goal was to go in there and buy another one. And I didn't end up doing that because I saw the Lego. I was like, I'm going to get this. And then after that, I genuinely just fell in love with Lego again.
Okay.
And,
Again. So it's like a reunion.
You can call it a reunion. I definitely liked it.
Does it what does it provide for you?
Quiet, stress relief, keeps me busy. If we're going to be perfectly honest, and I talked about this in the solo episode, I have problems, and you know this also. I talk about my weight, and I'm obsessed with my weight, and this keeps me out of the kitchen. And like when I'm
Right.
home, it keeps me busy. Even if I'm watching TV, I'll be like, okay, I have to be eating something right now while I'm laying in bed or on the couch.
Yes.
The pieces are so small, it just keeps me very busy, and it allows me to just clear my brain, not have to worry about work or drama or any of that shit.
I relate to this. I've definitely had my share of these kinds of issues too, which I think you know. But,
Yeah.
so I really relate.
So what do you do?
Well, I've been in like a recovery for years, and so I've had freedom from my crazy food and body stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
at my worst, I think I was like doing all the stuff, like tape measures, scales, this diet. I've tried every diet. And I think, of course, it all comes from anxiety, which I
Yeah.
didn't realize. I thought I just had like a food problem, and then later I was like, oh. Like once I got into recovery and went to some 12-step meetings for people with these issues, I was like, oh, I have an anxiety problem. Like I can't deal with life, so I'm obsessing about this exercise program or this diet because it's giving me something to focus on, and it's really doing a good job of distracting me from my stressors, which is like this guy I like, or this job that's falling through, or whatever.
That's interesting. Like, so
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, that's
Okay,
because
yeah,
that's
it was-
completely different than my food problem. I don't do it as a stressor releaser to deal with problems. I mean, I definitely eat more if I'm like going through something, but I have it in my brain that you just need to, like, for example, when I'm having dinner, I can't just have a burger. My brain is like transformed to believe you have to have a side dish with something. So even if I'm not that hungry and I just want to grab a quick burger and go to McDonald's, grab like just a burger, no fries.
Right.
No, you have to have fries. You need a side with it. Like there's things in my brain that are just there that I probably do need a therapist. Lego's not going to fix that.
But it's such a good way to self-soothe. Like when you get into recovery circles, there's this term that you've probably heard before called harm reduction. It's like if you're a heroin addict, what is something you can do, what is some harm you can do to yourself that is less harmful than heroin? Okay, I can smoke a cigarette, that's, it's not great, but it's not heroin,
For the record, heroin, therapy, they're all less expensive than Lego. Just throwing that out there. This is a very expensive solution I've decided to...
I'm going to confess to you one mode of self-soothing that I have been doing since, I think, 2016. So maybe it was the year that we did the web series. But I don't know when this started, but it's weird. Maybe it's not weird. Hopefully I'm not alone. When I was living in my New York City apartment, it was so cold at night, and I'm a Californian, so I'm not used to this, and I would be reading like this in bed, and I would notice my arms were getting really cold. And I was like, and I don't want to wear a sweatshirt to bed, but I'd be like in a tank top or even a long sleeve shirt, and I noticed like my forearms are getting cold, and I really hate it, and I want to keep reading my phone or whatever I'm reading. And then I decided I'm going to get all the way under the covers, and I'm going to create a little cave. So I have this technique where I put the covers over my head, and I'm completely in a cave, and it provided me, sorry I'm banging on my mic, it provided me with so much soothing. Like I just instantly, when I go in my cave, I'm like, okay, thank God. Like I still go in my cave every day, sometimes instead of napping. I don't understand people who nap.
Really?
You're insane if you nap.
What?
How? I mean...
Napping is the greatest thing on the planet.
But how do you shut off your mind? And then aren't you so disoriented when you wake up and like,
There used to be a time where I would nap when it was light out, wake up when it was dark out, not know where I was, what day.
Yeah.
Now, I'm fine. My body's like, yep, and when we want to go to sleep later, we'll go to sleep later with no problem. Like,
I'm envious of your napping skills.
Oh, look, she's opening the book. She's done just connecting random pieces.
Nous passons
Yeah,
de
no,
emballage en plastique au emballage. I don't speak French, but this
You're
looks
trying,
cool.
though, and I respect that.
I'm realizing there are rules to this. Like, you can't just put Lego together.
That is a rule. Well, no, there's no rule with Lego. Lego, you can build however you want.
Oh,
if
really?
you want it to look like this, you need to follow the instructions.
That's so good. You'll be a good
Like
dad.
if you want to be like, hey, I built a wall. This is great, Anya. You just connected 4 pieces, all the same size. You've built a wall. There's nothing in here that requires this.
Right.
But the fact
I'm
that you did
there.
it. Yeah.
No, I'm not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you should probably follow the rules. So we met because you were signed to Atlantic Records. I worked there, and they had like some kind of music sale where they were just getting all of their stuff out of the warehouse.
AKA throwing away all that bullshit
No,
that these artists have
they
made.
literally, you know how I know that you were a big deal there? They didn't just put your stuff out. If you walk around the floor, you see artist stuff laid out everywhere. You just grab it. They put it by the printer or the fax machine. You just grab it. Yours was for sale. They knew the value of your vinyl.
Oh, okay. I'll believe that.
So
for
I
this
bought
moment.
it, and then I tagged you in it, and then we just started talking.
And I was like, wait, they have a Spirit School vinyl, a 7-inch of this EP I made called Spirit School. I've never seen that. I never knew they made that. And then you were like, oh, really? I have it here. Why don't you come by and take it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Did I sign it or did you give it to me?
I just gave it to you. I didn't want it signed, but I was shocked that you didn't know it existed.
You didn't want it signed?
Not if I'm going to give it to you.
I have my own autographed copy. I autographed all my copies, all my personal records. This
I
makes
legit did
no
not know
sense.
that you didn't know that existed.
Oh, yeah.
And then we started talking. I was shooting Labeled at the time, which is the record label web series, and then you came in and did a cameo for that. That's how we started, and then we're like...
That was really fun.
Well, you were just so funny. We were like, oh, we can make a separate spin-off with Anya. And we did.
And we did. I couldn't believe that you said, I'll just write you a web series. It was like a dream came true. A dream come true. A dream came true.
And it's weird to me that like that was such a thing for you, like that you were just surprised at that, because you were naturally funny. When we were talking about doing the web series, it was a no-brainer.
It was so fun. I can't believe how quickly we shot it.
Well, that's the beauty of like even the stuff I do now. I can do things quickly and I can do them cheap, and it just comes down to how cheap and how we budgeted and how many people we have involved. Like I think one of the things that that make it easy is I was the camera guy.
Yeah. We were all kind of, well, no, I guess I wasn't doing everything. You were doing everything.
I was doing.
And Bethany.
No, Bethany and I were doing more of the production stuff, but like when people ask who wrote it, I tell them I put the script on paper, but really once we start shooting, we just let you go.
That was so fun. I like having bullet points and just kind of knowing where the scene's going to go and then seeing what happens.
Well, it worked out so perfectly because you were able to deliver the lines, and then if you saw something else there, we knew to just let you go with it. We knew it was just, okay, now let's do that exact same thing, but you can go and do your runs with it. And then once you did the runs, we ended up keeping most of those because they were just so funny. Stuff that probably wasn't the most appropriate, but because because it's a character,
there were many times I
it.
was like, am I going to get canceled? But it's weird how quickly things evolve. Like when I watch it back, I think most of this aged just fine. But then some of it, I'm like, is this bad?
Well, we had to make sure that we were taking the Michael Scott route, where it was like, she's very likable and people are going to root for her, but she's also not going to be 100% on board with what's appropriate and what's not, and she's going to be a character who speaks her mind, and there are going to be people that like agree with it but would never say it out loud.
The hardest part was so much of it is based on truth, and then so much of it is completely preposterous.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the objectivity at the time to know where the line was, so I kept having to ask you, like, is this too much? Is this weird? I feel weird. Like, I felt weird, I think, the whole time until the very end. And when we shot the Six Flags episode, I was just so bizarre because I'm in full zombie makeup.
Well, I was going to ask, is that why? Like, when you have makeup on, do you feel like you can do some crazier shit or like...
I just felt like I was losing my mind, and like, weren't we like screaming at passersby like, I got dropped, get my fucking record or something? What was it?
I don't remember exactly what we were shouting, but we had, I had a connection. This is the thing. It's like I have weird connections, and whenever I have an opportunity to do something, it's like, who are my friends that are doing stuff that could take advantage of this thing that I have? So I happen to know someone at Six Flags who was who was doing all the Fright Fest stuff. And the year prior to that, I was managing Jax, the singer, and we did the same thing with her. We went there, they got her zombied up, and then she went around the park scaring people. We shot it for content. So I wasn't working with Jax anymore, but I was like, okay, I still have this connection. It's Halloween. Maybe we shoot, because we were only going to do 5 episodes. I was like, maybe we shoot an extra episode that night. And then it worked out. It was so funny just having you go around screaming shit.
I mean, I still laugh watching that one because that whole episode is improvised, I think.
Yeah, we didn't have a script.
And it just was fun to completely lean into. I think I just lost my mind and was finally like just so frustrated with the industry and like, fuck it, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, so do you, when you look back at it now, do you see it as something that...
The weirdest thing is that my label loved it. The label that dropped me watched it
Atlantic?
and loved it. Yeah, and one of the scenes is verbatim me getting dropped. And then that guy in real life watched it and was like, I'm so proud of you, this is amazing. I'm like...
That's the industry. That is...
Re-sign me.
That is the industry in a nutshell. It's
Give me 5% of your $7 million home.
Okay, so let's go back to the very, very beginning because I'm curious how you first started in music and like how you got signed by Atlantic. So could you walk through that a little bit? How old were you when you first decided?
How old was I?
When you decided, like, I want music is my thing. Do you not remember how old you were?
I thought you were going to talk about like how old was I when I got signed, which is a crime.
No, I'm curious when you figured out. I do want to know how old you were when you got signed. No, when did you figure out music was what you were going to do for the rest of your life? And then what was the process for getting signed back then? Because I kind of want to talk about what you're dealing with, what you and other artists are dealing with now also with music, the industry changing. It's
so crazy. I don't know. None of it makes any sense to me. But I guess I didn't know I was going to do it till I got signed. and I was a DJ on the radio in San Diego on FM 94.9. I was the midday girl, 10 to 2. But that whole time I had been in radio in San Diego, which at that point had been almost 10 years, I was playing gigs at coffee shops like Java Joe's, where Jason Mraz and Tristan Prettyman and Jewel were playing. Or Jewel had like gotten big out of the Interchange, it was called, and then Java Joe's and stuff like that. So I was in San Diego kind of playing open mics and playing shows, and when I had vacation time from the radio station, I would organize these little tours. Like I would do a 2-week West Coast tour. And I had this terrible, terrible breakup that just completely shocked me, and this is so frustrating. Oh. Okay, question. There's a Lego question. A break for a Lego question. What is this weird black hole?
Those are eyes.
Eyes?
So there should be some black dots over here that look like eyes.
Oh my God, thank you.
There
I
you
was
go.
so confounded. Okay, so
Good word.
I had this terrible breakup and I had accumulated all these songs, but I did not have a way to record them. And I was just lying in bed, super depressed, smoking all the time, like barely making it to the radio station. My life was falling apart. And then I thought, why don't you, my friend O, who is no longer with us, he was like the kind of friend that everybody should have, just a total motivator. Like, what are you moping around about? Like, you're talented, just do this thing, just get it, just do it. Kind of like you, like, let's just make a web series, let's just do it. And Nikki's like that too. I think I am the opposite of that, and I am very attracted to doers and people who are kind of like manic and just go for it and don't have a ton of self-doubt. They're just like, I'm doing it. So anyway, O helped me get a band together and helped me find a place to record for next to nothing. And before I knew it, I was recording this album. I think it was during the breakup or something. Anyway, I made this album called Miss Halfway by myself. And I was just dreaming of having my music in a TV show, because at the time there was a show called Grey's Anatomy, and they were doing weird stuff like playing music really loudly in scenes. I'm like, what is this? They had never done that before. It was always like very background music.
Yeah.
But this was loud to the point where you're like, whoa, I'm listening to the lyrics. Who is this? You would like Google who wrote this song. Oh, who's Ingrid Michaelson? You know, I was like finding out who these artists were. Anyway, I was dreaming about getting on there, and I sent my CD out to some music supervisors. I guess I asked around town, where do I send this? And then Grey's Anatomy called, or the person that actually ended up signing me later was like, we're going to use your song in season 2, episode 2. It was the very pivotal scene of Meredith in the elevator with Dr. McDreamy. And she finally confesses to him. Did you ever watch the show?
I think I was dating a girl who made me sit through a few episodes.
Yeah, so she confesses her love to him. I don't think she's like, I miss you. And then he says, I can't. And that's that.
And your song was playing.
And then my song, it's like, then my song begins, and they played so much of it, so loudly, and it completely blew my mind. And then I think they offered me a record deal. That company was called Chop Shop, and it was run by Alex Pasavas, who became one of the biggest music supervisors of all time. So big, in fact, that she was name-checked in an episode of Girls many years later. But yeah, so she signed me, and then I was able to quit my job at the radio station, and that's when I decided, I guess I can do this. I think when I first got that first sync, they call it, in Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I could quit my job and do this.
Yeah. Because, I mean, so when something like that happens, I guess the label's negotiating for you, as opposed to if they reached out to you directly, you may have just been inclined to be like, yeah, take it for free, because I just want my music out there, and like I'm still not signed anywhere yet. But since they're negotiating for you, and you're like, oh, there's real money in this thing.
Well, Alex had a music supervision company, so they were just getting songs in TV shows. Then after that happened, I guess she put me in Grey's Anatomy twice, maybe, a different song of mine too, called Clean and Sober. And then she formed a record label called
Got
Chop
it.
Shop, which was a little indie under Atlantic.
So that's the thing. Even though I don't think you were signed when I met you, I had worked on your album under Chop Shop when I had first started at the label. So I knew of you. That's why I bought the vinyl. I knew of you and worked on those albums before we actually ever met. And
What were
that's
you
that's
doing?
interesting. What?
What were you doing?
Same
the
thing.
digital stuff?
Yeah, same digital stuff. And your stuff would come through. It probably wasn't the first. Was it the first album? Maybe the second album.
Oh, it was Slow and Steady
Slow and
Seduction
yeah.
phase 2.
Yep.
Yeah, my first major label
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. My first, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't say real album, but yeah, let's call it that. It was Pro. And I love that record. And then that sort of began my real career. I quit the radio station, started touring and making music, and it seemed to last a while, but when I look back on it, I think it was just a handful of years. I think it was just a couple of years.
Probably like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Had you always been playing guitar at that point?
No, I had been like dilly-dallying with guitar and writing little songs. Maybe I started 6 years before that.
Okay.
So like, I never had taken a lesson, just self-taught, and
Really?
had written a few songs.
Can you read music?
No,
Yeah, and I always that's why I gave up guitar.
like barely.
I can play guitar, but I refuse to take any more classes because my high school teacher would keep ripping me apart for not knowing how to read music. I'm like, but I can play better than everyone in the class. I just can't read the notes. I did it by memory.
Right.
And I thought I was like, well, I'm never going to learn to read music because my brain doesn't work like that. So I was
Same.
like,
It's too hard.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to be.
Real musicians are watching this, like, what a
Yeah.
bunch of idiots.
Yeah. Fuck you and the Philharmonic.
I always am reluctant to say I'm a musician, but I am a songwriter and I am a singer, so I guess I'm a singer.
I think that makes you a musician.
I get, okay.
You create music.
That's true.
Is your process lyrics or melody first, or does it really just depend?
I think it's melody first for me. I always am walking around alone, humming things into my phone, and then words kind of appear, for me anyway, after that. What about you?
When I write music, I don't write music, but when it comes to joke writing, I write. I have jokes and scenes in mind before I can, but I don't often sit down and say, hey, for 3 hours today, I'm going to write. I will have an idea in mind and I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm writing this tonight because I actually have something that came to me that I think is really funny. But yeah, my brain works like, I don't want to sit there and waste 3 hours
Right.
trying to find something because rarely does it end up actually being good. So I'd rather spend my time just living life, waiting for things to come to me, like in terms of like ideas, and then sitting down and just churning it out real quick. But yeah, everybody's writing process, just from doing this show and talking to comics and musicians and stuff, it's been interesting hearing what everybody's process is.
Yeah, I can't imagine joke writing, and that's what is kind of interesting about being friends with so many comics is, to me, it's so fascinating. How do you write a joke? It sounds like when they're doing it, it feels like math to me.
Yeah.
And my mom's a math teacher, but it's a lot like it's kind of like this Lego thing. Like you have an equation, and I have these parts, and I want to get to this end. So it's
Yeah.
almost like subtraction or knowing what the punchline is. With me, I am not a joke writer at all. I can tell a story a little bit, although it takes me a while. But
No, but you're a great storyteller. When we went to see you at a few local places here, and like your stories in between songs is just so funny. I think you would be a great crowd worker.
oh really? God, that's. I'm so terrified of. I don't know how people do it. I tried to have a show. The show where I first worked with Nikki, we had just met. I had done her podcast. I forget what it was called at the time. She had it with Sarah Schaefer. You Had to Be There or something like that. Anyway, I was doing a show at Joe's Pub with a bunch of comedians and funny people, Todd Barry, Max Silvestri, Gabe Liedman, and then Nikki. And I forgot why I started telling this story.
Crowd work.
Oh,
Joke
yes,
writing.
thank you. You're good.
I really am.
I thought, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go out there on stage and MC, and I don't need my guitar. Because I was so used to just doing shows all the time with my guitar. But I always had my guitar around my body, like when I do shows. I could play for an hour and a half easily like that, just telling stories and going into songs. But I went out on stage at Joe's Pub to open the night up, and I just thought, cockily, I'll do this. I don't need my guitar. It was the most terrifying 45 seconds. Didn't get a single laugh. Didn't have the guitar to use as a crutch. When like you're choking and you just like strum the guitar like bam bam. Okay, that gets a laugh sometimes. That's like a serious crutch that musicians know. But I thought never ever again. I would hate it. And I remember taking an improv class once years ago in the Valley when I lived in LA, and it was fun but also terrifying, and I felt nauseated all the time, like, oh, I don't want to do this.
I know a few people who have stage fright unless they're behind an instrument. So like that kind of makes sense that you saw it as like this protective thing that you could always rely on if things went south, where comics kind of just have their jokes, and if that's not working.
Yeah, I remember
I've seen
thinking,
some shit.
I wanted to be on SNL when I was younger, like in college. I remember saying, like, that's my goal, to be on Saturday Night Live. But I think it was taking me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do growing up. And I was interested in poetry. I was interested in music. I was in bands. I was interested in choir. And then I wanted to be a writer for a while. I was like, do I write books? Do I become a poet? Like, do I become an actor? I really wanted to be an actress for a while. And then I ended up on the radio. And I was like, this isn't me either, because everybody in radio was really into music and knew everything about every band. And I wasn't that either. I really liked the performance aspect of it and just being conversational. And then I remember thinking, oh, I remember what it was. I saw Jewel in like 1994 or something crazy. And she was performing with a guitar at this beautiful theater in San Francisco. I think it was the Fillmore. She was opening for Liz Phair. I wanted to go see Liz Phair. And Jewel comes out. Nobody knows who she is. She's so funny, so talented, playing all these cute songs, like very cute songs, like hilarious. She was like basically doing crowd work and jokes in these little songs, and then telling really interesting stories, and then like being so touching with her music too, that I remember thinking, like, I like this. I think I want to do this, something like that, even though I don't have a voice anything like hers. I like the idea of being sensitive and artistic, but also engaging and funny. So I wanted that combo. And I think I like comedians like that too.
Yeah. The most mind-blowing thing to me is talking to a comedian off stage, and they are the most intolerable humans, where like they're not funny, they're not entertaining, they have no fun stories, they really are just as good as the jokes they write. And then you start meeting people that are actually funny, like that. I always said I'd rather have friends who are funny than comedian friends. Like I would rather.
Comedians are so sad.
It's so depressing. I think
They're
that's
so dark. I was like, when I first moved to New York and I met all these comics, Amy and Nikki and oh God, Dave Attell. Well, I met Dave Attell years ago in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I remember just thinking, like, one night after hanging out with a bunch of them at the Comedy Cellar, like, what did I think I was getting myself into? I thought I was going to be entertained by all these people, and they're like, suicide, death, depression, like really intense shit. And that's what makes them amazing, is they're fearless. They'll talk about all this stuff. The best ones will share their darkness and make us feel less alone. But man, when they're not on stage,
it's so brutal.
It's intense.
It's so, and it's funny because everybody, like people, when I worked at the Comedy Store, people from New York would DM me, oh my God, you know this person, you're friends with this person. And then I'd be like, yeah, but you don't.
You have no
You've
idea.
not had a conversation with them. You don't want to be friends with them. They can ruin a night so quickly.
I loved your episode with Mark Maron, and I met Mark years ago in Portland. I think he was performing at Helium. And ever since I was kind of like old enough to go to comedy clubs, I was going to comedy clubs all the time in San Francisco. Greg Proops, Patton Oswalt. I think I saw Marin a bunch of times. But anyway, I remember meeting him in Portland again many years later. And I think I knew Ron Funches and Shane Torres out there a little bit. And maybe they were on a gig with him. Anyway, he needed a ride to his hotel or something. And it was like a 5-minute drive. And I was like, sure, I'll give you a ride. And in that 5-minute drive, and mind you, I was a huge fan and still am of his podcast. I was so shocked that the same voice that is on the podcast going, you know, yelling or whatever he's yelling about was now yelling at me, but very seriously. And it was very unnerving. It was like, what are you doing? Oh, are we doing this now? Is that what we're doing? Or you know, like it was, I don't remember, maybe I was like thinking, oh, he's going to be funny. He's going to entertain me. And he's like, no, just take a right and then take a left or, you know, whatever it was. I just remember feeling like, oh, this is not a joke. Like he's actually like this. And I couldn't tell if he was kidding. I remember being a little unnerved by it all and kind of like, it was like a little reality check, but.
Yeah, and it's funny because that was, I am going to assume that was like the cranky years, Mark Maron, the cranky years. He has become so chilled out. I was scared to meet Mark Maron because I know him as that guy.
Right.
Just from everything.
Yeah, it was probably 2011.
Yeah, no, he chilled out so much that he became one of my favorite people to watch. Because when you know the person as a person and then you get to see his stand-up, you become a lot more impressed that he's able to pull this off when he's just completely different off stage now that he's kind of calmed down. We had like a version of Mark called Cigar Mark, where when he was smoking cigars, you've never met a chiller person.
So that's his cave. That's his Lego.
That's his Lego. He stopped though, so he's back to where he was. But yeah, Mark was a fun episode. But I was terrified because we sprung it on him. So
one I watched?
Yeah, I knew that he didn't want to do any of the stuff we were doing with Comedy Store Studios. It was kind of geared towards the younger comics, helping build them up so they could sell some tickets at the store. So we never bothered him to do a lot of stuff. Every now and then he would maybe do someone's podcast. So I was leaving the store at that point. I was like, "Hey, Mark, I'm leaving. Do you think you'd be down to do an interview for my web series?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. Let's do it now." And I was like, and I had the Lego with me because I was like, just in case.
Right. Oh, wow.
So I texted my producer downstairs. I was like, "Unpack it all. He's coming down." And he did it. And he was first of all, he was really good at Lego, but he was just so cool about it. And
wait, what makes him good at Lego?
He was building. He was actually like, by the time the episode ended, even though it was only like 20 minutes, you could actually tell he was building something.
I better hurry up.
No, you have what looks like could be a guitar neck.
Yes.
So I would say you're doing pretty well too.
Yeah, there's something meditative about this. There's also something about patience.
Yeah.
And like, there's been a couple times that I've thought, oh, I'm missing this very important piece. And then my anxiety starts to ramp up and then I just go, it is here. You just have to calm down. And then it appears.
I deal with the same thing. I'll be like, oh, this is going to be the one set where Lego fucked up and I'm missing a piece.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, no, there it is. What's something, now that you have some time to look back at when you started in the industry, what's something you would tell younger Anya before she got signed, when she was watching Grey's Anatomy?
This is so hard because I guess I don't believe that you can do anything wrong, which is, I don't know, like that's so eye rolly, but I kind of believe that there is no such thing as a mistake, but sure, I'll play this game with you. If I could do it all again, what would I tell myself? I wish I would have not been coping so much with drugs and alcohol because I think I just couldn't handle all the travel and the pressure and like this was even before social media really. Like all we had was Twitter at the time and barely like something called Hipstagram, which Instagram.
What?
Yeah, I wasn't having to do social media really.
Yeah.
I remember when I did the New Moon premiere and I was interviewing people on the red carpet for a MySpace event. for the Twilight New Moon premiere, that was when I went viral on Twitter, and people were like calling me names and saying I was terrible because I had the gall to ask Kristen Stewart some question about a movie that was coming out, and all her fans were like, "You should know that already. This girl's unprepared. Why didn't you?" Or some, I don't know what question I asked her, and I can't remember what happened. I said something like, "You look adorable," and they were like angry at me for
Commenting on her looks.
commenting on her. I don't know what it was.
So you got an early taste of the internet.
Yeah, and I remember I thought I should just die because I'll
That's
never
reasonable.
I'll never come back from this. But then my followers quadrupled overnight, but they were all Twihard haters. Like, I remember one tweet said like, "Fuck this Anya Marina." And I was just like, I can't survive this. I gotta go into my cave. There's just no way to survive. How do I have, I think I had a couple hundred followers, and then overnight I had 4,000 something followers on Twitter, which was a lot back then for me. And I couldn't handle the emails. I had hundreds of emails every day I couldn't get back to. I didn't have an assistant. Of course you don't have the money to have an assistant when you're on an indie deal either. I guess I would tell myself, try to be sober. I think I got sober sort of quickly after I got signed, after realizing I can't handle this. Like, my eating disorder was off the charts.
Yeah.
I was smoking. I was trying anything just to stay in the game, I guess. And then I would tell myself, this is also counterintuitive, do the stuff they're telling you to do. I was doing everything. I think I did everything I could, but they were also saying, like, you should do a headlining tour now, capitalize on this. Basically, like, never stop working. And I think I chose my mental health and my physical health because I knew
You would tell yourself, don't worry about that.
I know, this is
You would
terrible.
tell yourself,
Just
you know
keep going.
what? Your
Push
mental
through.
health, you can fix that later.
Yeah, I don't think I did anything wrong.
That could be fixed with money.
I learned that being super famous wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have that kind of a life. I remember saying, like, I want to have dinner parties with my friends. I want to see my family. I hadn't seen anyone in something like 6 months, like my family, friends. I was just on the road and having all this anxiety. I kept going to the doctor for weird things, and they'd be like, there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to change your lifestyle. So I think it's just, it wasn't
when I
for
ask
me.
that question, I don't assume that you regret anything. I honestly,
Thank you.
I agree that everything that you do back then gets you to where you are now. So for me, it's more of, I'm curious what you would prepare yourself for in your career. So like, if I were a musician, I would tell myself, hey, make sure you have a digital footprint and stay the fuck off Twitter because they will dig that shit up.
I deleted
Like,
all my tweets. I really did. That was
I
the
did.
best
I
thing.
had to go back when I started working. So I had one tweet that blew up. Ariana Grande, who I do not I have no issues with.
Careful.
She did.
Careful.
She did SNL, and I was like, I can't even understand what she's saying. It's like mumbly. And out of all tweets, Perez Hilton took it and retweeted it. And then 2 weeks later, we had her collaborating on a track with one of our artists. And it was like my biggest tweet ever. And I was like, well, I have to delete this now. 'Cause
Right.
this tweet is not making me more money than my career is. And I would just tell myself, hey, you don't need Twitter. It's going to be taken over by a tool bag anywhere. Yeah.
A very wealthy psychopath.
Um,
I wish I had. God, so I guess you're not saying like, what do you wish you had done? You're more like, how would you have prepared better?
what would you have told yourself? Like even now, I would have told myself from 5 years ago, get better with social media.
Yes.
I
I
don't know
wish I
how to
had been doing that.
Snapchat. I don't know how to TikTok. Every now and then I'll post something, it'll blow up. But other than that, I post the clips, and that's the end of it. And I wish I knew how to do CapCut. And look, this image is. I can't do any of that. I wish I knew how to green screen shit. I could green screen, but I use a professional camera and a green screen taped to the wall.
Here's what I wish. Voice lessons, very helpful.
Okay.
It made me more confident. I've been doing that the last year, and it's helped so much. Also, counter to your advice, do not worry about social media. Hire somebody maybe to film you or whatever. Focus on the songs. Also, stop trying to be someone you're not.
It's so fascinating that you say that because all they're doing right now is signing people off TikTok.
I know, but
It's the craziest thing ever, and you're right. I agree with you.
I argue with Nikki, or I have argued with Nikki about this because Nikki believes that if you're number one, you're great. And I don't think everyone who's number one or her point of view, I think, and I shouldn't speak about her, well, she's not here to defend herself, but if you are successful, you are the best, is her theory. And my theory is that is not true.
Yeah.
If you are successful, you might be very good, but you also got lucky, you have a lot of money behind you.
Yeah.
And you, basically that.
You hit an algorithm. Like,
Yeah.
there are a million reasons why you might be successful, but and I hate saying this, there is value to someone who is successful because of their social media. Because unfortunately, and like, I'll tell you a personal story when we're off air. Your value, you're a number. Even though you're talent,
Yes.
you're just a revenue number to people.
How many followers do you have? How many spins do you have? Exactly. I would rather, and anyone can debate me on this, I would rather love what I make than be really popular and rich. Because I've made things before that people like, that sound good. I don't like them. And I regret that. I wouldn't say I regret them.
No,
I'm like,
I respect that.
I don't like it. I don't want that. Like, I want something that's classic. So, same with like a coat. I would rather save up. I have this one coat that I bought years ago. It was $800, which was a lot.
Yeah.
But I would rather have that one coat than like 7 shitty coats from, no offense to the Gap or Old Navy. They also make great stuff that I bought. But like, I want a classic thing. So same with my songs. I want to put out music that I love and stand by. Cut to a song I'm super embarrassed about right now.
I respect that, especially because the amount of artists you hear that hate playing their most popular song because that isn't what they qualify as making them an artist. So that gets me to a couple of last 2 questions. But the first one, so one of your songs just completely blew up. Was it because of Gossip Girl? You did a cover of Whatever You Like.
Yes, T.I.'s Whatever You Like.
Awesome cover.
Thanks.
Was there a reason you never went down the route of doing like cover albums or?
I would totally do it, but I want to cover songs that I like.
Okay, that was going to be my next question because that's the difficult part. It's either you can make a popular song your own, but you hate that song,
right?
And you're doing it just because
that's the thing.
Trending.
I just don't like a lot of stuff.
If you could do a cover album of anyone, who would it be?
Oh, I want to do a bunch of different covers, like. You know, this is my favorite song from this year of my life, and that I just want to cover songs that I'm obsessed with.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and in a way that I can do them. I don't like I was just stuck at the Starbucks. I can't say this. I can't say it.
Say it and we can edit it out.
There's a very, very popular musical that is out right now, and the soundtrack was blaring in my ear at the Starbucks. This is a #1 nominated musical, and I was just thinking, I couldn't hate this more.
Is it something that just had a movie blow up too?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
and I don't like it at all.
I'm with you.
I see the value in it, or I get why it's like people are freaking out about it. I don't want it. It's not for me. And it's just like some people are not meant to be part of the mainstream, and that is
me. No, that's good advice for
I'm
like
Anya Marina, Indie-Pendent Woman, and this has been Legos, girl. What is this show called? Best Friends?
Nope.
Friendships?
Building Friendships.
Building Friendships.
Which I made a mistake. So we thought we would be trendy, and we had like a T-shirt. We put out a few T-shirts, and someone said to me, "You know what everyone loves now? Like when the writing's in Japanese." So I was like, okay, I went to Google Translate, I put in Building Friendships and had them bring out the Japanese logo, and then I put it on a T-shirt. But anytime my friend was like, I had 4 friends buy it, and they were like, oh, I love the Japanese one. I'm like, I'm just letting you know in advance. I don't know if it's translated. I don't know if it says Building Friendships, like you're building a friendship, or Building Friendships meaning friendships amongst buildings.
My best friend is insane, China. I grew up with her. And for my birthday one year, she's like, close your eyes. Okay, ready? Open your eyes. I was like, okay. And she's like, oh, it's just open your eyes. And I opened my eyes and she's like this.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's a huge Chinese tattoo. And I was like, you got a tattoo? And she's like, it's your name. It says Marina.
She should go to jail.
And then, I don't know, first of all, that's an insane gift to give someone. I got a tattoo. I spent
That's not a
money
gift.
It's not a gift.
She branded herself for you. That's like an obsession.
It's a cult. It's weird. Love you, China. Shout out to China. But yeah.
That's so funny.
I don't think it actually says Marina. But
I hope it
don't
does.
tell her.
Last question
No, I don't
before
want
we
it to be
go.
over.
I know. Well, we're going to go hang after this. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? We get deep right at the end.
One thing about myself. Lately, I have kind of a temper, and I'm trying to. I think it's perimenopause. So just up my prescription. That's the only thing I'd change.
Okay.
Smaller penis.
Okay, that's fair.
No,
That's fair.
Very telling that I can't come up with an answer.
I think that's good. I think that's not bad. That's not a bad thing necessarily.
Like, I want to say sometimes I wish I worked harder, or I think, you know what, I wish I had less self-doubt. I think
Okay.
the self-doubt gets in my way a lot. Like,
Yeah.
we got here today and I was thinking, oh, it's so nice to be in a building where everybody's podcasting and doing things, and I love New York City. I need to be here. It makes me feel so good and like myself.
Yeah.
And why am I not doing a podcast? I spent 10 years in broadcasting on the radio, and I think there must be some part of me that's like, no one's going to give me a podcast. No one's going to listen to that. And that's a voice that I think has been with me since day one, and it's just always there on like a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's really tough to turn that volume down and turn the volume up on the other voice. It's like, yes, do a podcast, reach out to your friends. You can do it.
It's also a patience thing. Like, I'm kind of in the same boat, but for me, it's more like, well, if I do, I will do it. But if I don't get 1 million views in my first episode, I'm out.
I admire that. You have a lot of confidence, or like
I have no confidence.
No, that's
I'm just
some
like,
kind of healthy
I want to be able to say
narcissism.
that I'm doing it, and then I'm going to quit because it's not working the way.
You did it.
Perfect. All right,
I
where
feel
can
like you
people?
cheated.
No, I'm just
There's
really good
4
at this.
stray pieces.
No, they give you a lot of extra.
I got here. I have absolutely no idea what this is.
Show it to the camera. It's a guitar neck. You should know what it is.
Is it upside down?
No, it's going to be fine once you finish it. You get to take this home and finish it. So there you
Really?
go. Yeah.
Aw,
Where
that's
can
so
people
sweet.
find you?
AnyaMarina.com, Instagram, Anya Marina. My Patreon would be great if you joined and helped me through this great transition of life. And tell me what you want to hear and where you want to hear it. I don't know what that means.
Tell me where you want me to put it.
That's just,
You want me to send you something? Great.
just come see me on tour, AnyaMarina.com, and join my Patreon. I am making a new album with Matt Pond.
That's awesome.
Matt Pond, PA. And I have all sorts of little goodies there. It's really fun.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see a new
Nudes.
album. There we That's the only clip we're putting out. You can follow me at Sadane Sosis. You can follow the show at Building Friendship Series. Subscribe on YouTube. I have 2 Lego Ideas sets out right now. We have the Lego Full House set with Jodie Sweeten. That's out at tinyurl.com/Lego Full House. And Bobby Moynihan and I, just in time for SNL 50, we have the Lego Saturday Night Live set up for vote at tinyurl.com/Lego SNL. Thanks, Anya.
Thank you, Jonathan.